Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
Good, good. I delayed unmuting you. I almost didn't unmute you.
You know what?
Silence!
I would have just had to say it twice.
Nah, everyone you just have to mime everything throughout the whole live chat.
Well, we've had those kind of things too. So
Yeah, it happens. It happens from time to time.
after years of doing this, the amount of technical issues and whatnot are pretty darn high. So whatever.
So tonight we're talking about what? Inns and taverns. We're going to run the whole gambit on those.
Yeah, inns and taverns are definitely a fun thing, and I figured this would be a good thing to talk about. Regardless of what holiday you tend to celebrate, the end of the year, the Christmas season, or again whatever holiday that is, one of those things. And where do people celebrate in a D&D setting? At inns and taverns, or just outside of them. So that would figure
Before
be
the end times, anyway.
well before the end time. So I figured this would be a good thing to bring up at this point in time. Its beginnings, its endings, it's all in one.
So you're saying we should begin in a tavern, or has that been overdone?
Well, I mean, we did a whole video about starting in taverns and whatnot. So like we can touch on that if we really want to.
I
But
think it was more of a video of not starting in
what?
taverns.
Right. Well, I was trying not to bury the lead.
Uh,
I think the video was how not to start in a game, or what, or how not to start in a tavern,
10
or what.
ways to not start in a tavern.
Yeah, so like you've got these possibilities, but you can just as easily put things there. That's where people tend to congregate. And you can do a lot of stuff to you know prepare or over prepare with your inns and taverns.
Do you remember your best tavern start?
Probably not. Uh, I would imagine you were probably going to go in the direction where you took over my game with said tavern.
Nah, nah. That's old
Uh,
news. We've
my
talked about it enough times. I mean, I did try and assassinate your warforged in a tavern with
yeah,
with rust monsters.
that was
No one
gears.
ever expects weaponized rust monsters.
That was gears, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's when we like used to play when we used to play our games, and like we believed as the dungeon master, no matter how many players you had, it was your job to get each and every one of them together separately in the first session, no matter how long it took, how much maneuvering it took. Oh God, we were idiots. Like that was the worst. Like I remember that one specifically because I had designed some like clandestine thing for a bunch of different people, and for you it was like trying to assassinate you. But honestly, that I do not consider that my best starting in a tavern.
So what was your best starting in a tavern?
D&D in a castle. We started in the tavern. Like you met up with your players, and we met everybody in the tavern the first night.
Well, that was actually a damn cool scenario. I greatly enjoyed that game, and like so many times, like that was just a whirlwind adventure. Like the whole thing, the game, the experience, it was, you're whisked up into this magical world. We're literally flown hours and hours away across the ocean to a whole other continent, and the experience, and then poof, just like that, it's over. So
That was the first time my real life D&D game started in a tavern. Anyway, I'm sure there's other people who have started their games that way
oh,
for
indeed.
sure.
So like my current game, I kind of started off at essentially a new tavern. I basically gave the short and sweet version of you all wind up at this location. But pre my knowledge of the yawning portal, I wanted to make a tavern that was um definitely different. And I briefly mentioned it last week when we were talking about shops, because it's more than just a tavern. The Harp and Stag Inn was a location that, in and of itself, it had this way of porting all around the world. It had access to a number of different shops, and depending upon how much you guys had wanted to kind of work in and out of that place, I had set it up as like, all right, this could potentially be like its own subplot to the game. uh,
We
but
started there and never went back.
I think like Kurt's character went back once.
Oh yeah, yeah, to get stuff.
But I mean that's I'm certain that you go through this all the time of thought patterns and maybe some pre-work of like, all right, maybe they'll do something with this, and you get the brain of flowing, and nothing ever comes of it. But where
Yeah.
the work is still there, I can reuse as need be.
So the World Serpent Inn is kind of like that. It's kind of like a Nexus, but it's a tavern.
Okay, what
That's
is
a
the world?
Planescape thing.
Okay,
There's a bunch of famous taverns, right? So the tavern trope is never going to die, and it never will be. And there's reasons, like anything that becomes a trope. There's a reasons why it's a trope.
oh exactly.
The key is always like, well, can I put my own spin twist on this trope and make it interesting, right? That's that's where the rubber kind of hits the road. And and trying to design taverns that are different, that are going to interest and intrigue the players, like that's kind of like what we strive for as GMs. Also, do sometimes it's a trap because like if we like do something that's kind of like a throwaway thing, and hey, Collective Arcana, how's it going? And you do a thing as a throwaway thing, and then your players like latch onto it, and it's like, okay, this is going to be a much bigger role than it was. Or sometimes it's just little things, like we have kind of like just like a kind of like nondescript tavern in Griffin Gaff that I would use from time to time, and that was um the Poor Man's Tavern, run by
Poor man's pub.
Poor Man's Pub, run by a halfling, Tom something or other.
Yep.
Haven't visited there quite some time. It is like nondescript, but like that's where my players always wanted to go to get their hot baths drawn, and like after a couple of initial incidences, a sign was placed up above the bar.
Magic of the bar.
Yeah, absolutely no magic to be used within these premises. Um,
Yeah, I mean, again, I went through and watched all those episodes. That was definitely a fun thing. And part of that is those players sought that place out for a particular purpose. So like that's the real crux of what is it that your players are looking for. Are they looking for just a place to get a meal and a room, and they're not really looking to role play or see your menu or any of that kind of stuff? um or do they want the whole experience? Do they want some kind of ambiance? You can have inns and taverns that have fighting arenas or fighting pits where they do bare knuckle brawls, and no weapons, no armors, and it's just go in there, and it's never a fatal thing. It's just about who can knock each other out, and that can be a thing. You could have a place that magic is welcome, and all of the brews have some kind of alchemical or magical bent to them that offer all these great experiences. You can have inns and taverns, and there was one I think you had in the Underdark, but with the myconids that had different uh fungal experiences that the players could have. Like there's so
yeah, it
many.
was kind of like bar meets opium den, and depending
So,
on what liquors you mixed with the spores from the myconids, you would give you varied effects.
so depending upon what kind of experience the players are into and you as the DM are willing to embrace, are are what you can do. I mean, every gaming group is going to be different for what specifically they're looking for. And I've played enough games where like the tavern itself is the entire session. Like it's not just role playing. There's ways to mix combat. There's ways to put in problems. You can have so much fun with them, just doing all of your standard, things. You don't need to go into crazy directions, but if you do, you know, there's plenty of room, to let all of that happen.
Yeah, I mean, our friend V, she runs BB's place,
Yep.
which is like D&D meets the Roaring Twenties outside of I think like Louisiana or someplace. Uh, and it is a tavern, and all the adventures always happen in the tavern.
I've been fortunate enough to run it twice, or play in it twice, and it's an absolute blast. And when you've been in it, you've got the chance to be able to bring your character back if you so desire, and it's when you've got the building as a place that you can then go off of the main area and down into the basement or into the back rows or whatever, there's definitely room for more adventures and seedier happenings. If you go upstairs into the rooms, you definitely have some more chances, for that direction. So when you're plotting and planning your taverner in sessions, these are all the things that you can have layered to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, several of our out of the box encounters actually happen in an inn as well. I don't know if it's two or three, but a few of them do take place at a tavern or an inn. So yeah, it can be, and also it's like it's such a crux thing, such an important thing in the D&D ethos, because it's like whenever the players get to the town, that's the first place they want to go for the most part, unless they're near dead. Then maybe a temple or a church. But from my experience, it's like they get to town, they're like, let's go find a tavern, let's go find an inn, let's get food, let's get drink, let's get rooms.
And that basically, when you have uh wanderers, travelers, adventurers, they don't have a home to settle down into. So they're looking for a place of where can I put my crud so that I can be able to do whatever else it is that we're doing. I want to secure lodgings so that I can be able to freely walk around town. And this, stems into what is the typical laws of the town? Are you allowed to openly carry weapons? Are you allowed to openly wear armor if you're not a knight? I guess somewhat appropriate with the horny hoodie that I'm wearing. Um, you
Is
know,
that how you sneak into those taverns?
I know. But like when you have these kinds of things, like okay, well, I'll go and I'll secure my belongings, and now I can just kind of walk around town. And you want respite from the road. You want a soft bed typically and a nice warm meal that's not something that you had to go hunt and kill yourself, or magically create tasteless food or what have you. You want something a little bit more. So it's only natural that that's the focal point of the return.
Yeah, I feel like they get worked into any kind of setting too, right? Some version, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's a bar, a tavern, and I mean, even in the Cipher System game, I threw in a firehouse themed bar in the apocalypse in post apocalyptic setting.
So as I try to always do, I try to come with some things from other products that might
Uh,
be able to help out those who are checking this out. So I brought a couple of things, and I mentioned some of these things last week. Our friends over at Loresmith, I talked about remarkable shops, but they all also have remarkable inns. And the great thing about this, it gives you a handful of ready-made places. Um, but beyond that, you've got bringing your inns to life, disposition, the innkeeper's authority, security, wealth and prices, lodging and services, and it just goes on, including different games that you can be able to play, song and tales, duels and bar fights, and then there's this whole section on creating your own inn, so that it walks you through, well, we have all of these already established places, but are you doing all of these things with the inns that you're creating? So I find that these guides um, are pretty darn useful for doing the prep ahead of time. But if you're not prepared and creating it, Dice Geeks, the Book of Random Tables, I've got 1 and 3 here, and I've got a couple things marked that offer some very useful things from the first book. If I turn to page 28, there's items in an inn's kitchen. That's a D100 list, so definitely fun things that you could be able to pull out if they're scavenging the place. And then the Book of Random Tables 3 actually has a D100 list of inn names. So definitely fun things that you could be able to play around with if you're in a jam.
Yeah, and products like that. There's also like I think there's also like a bunch of online random generators. Like there is no lack of resources. Yeah, for
Indeed, but
sure.
I always like to call out those things specifically when I can, just in case hasn't already come to your attention. But these
It's
things
also
are
more helpful than go search the internet. Go pound internet, son.
and that gives you specifically the in related information. But the Book of Random Tables, I find incredibly helpful. Matt over at Dice Geeks, we actually had him on the live chat not all that long ago, and it was a darn good interview. So
Yeah, it was a decent chat. He was fun to talk to. Especially because like I know that you use a bunch of his random books and picked up a bunch, and I've shared them on Facebook and stuff back in the before times when I had Facebook. Uh, just because stuff like that is always like useful. It's just like the players do something unexpected, they end up someplace you don't expect them to, and you're like, oh crud, what's going to be here? And having a random chart to roll on sometimes is super useful. Or letting the players roll, right? Don't even tell them what. Just like, hey, give me a couple D100s, somebody, and then players love to roll dice. So
players like rolling dice, and when you give a reaction like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Meanwhile, you're looking through the books, possibly even behind the screen. They might not know what you're doing. So you're literally just having them roll treasure or roll up names or whatever it is. And if you just try to be even keel and give reactions that don't make sense for what it is that you're doing,
yeah,
it can definitely put them on edge. That's the word I'm looking for, and can be a little fun. So
yeah. Players don't like it when they don't know what they're rolling for. And then in like I guess in 5e when you ask for percentile, it's even weirder, right? Because it's not something we ask for all that often. But like in first and second edition, like that was the like if it was an unknown quantity and the DM was just gonna do like a percentage chance for something,
Mhm.
they would always just they would just call for the percentile every time.
Right.
And usually it was low. If you roll low, something was going to happen one way or good or ill.
It's just definitely fun times. So I know you had written the encounter to be used in the tavern with the um the booze ooze and the drunken pixies.
Oh yeah, that was so long ago.
That was
You're
definitely
gonna ask me to recall something I'm not gonna remember, aren't you?
oh no, what have I done? No, it was just a fun time of again going back into that that concept of you thinking, all right, we're in town, we're at the tavern,
Yeah,
everything we're in this this safety net, right? We're behind these walls, we should be good, and you've got the ability to spring this encounter. So the way it kind of worked, the Pixies were, spiking drinks and causing a problem, just to basically watch the people get drunk and
And
do
act like idiots.
and
Yeah.
act like idiots, as those who get drunk typically do. Um,
That means some of the people I know must be pixies.
and then of course, something happened with the booze in the back, and then the booze ooze actually appeared, and it in and of itself,
The
you
pixies were
know,
enacting a ritual to create the booze oozes.
it can cause, further, levels of drunkenness, to those, or intoxication, for those that it actually is fighting. So that is definitely another layer of fun, in the involvement. And if you've got players who fully embrace that concept, they might make foolish decisions because they're drunk, and
Yeah.
it's all good. And that just another layer of fun.
We had to make that tavern because I remember the tavern we discussed in that video. So the idea is you have booze oozes and you have different variety of booze oozes. I think we had wine, ale, and like spirits
Mhm.
essentially. And part of their attack was they would, slam you, and then you would have to make a saving throw, or you'd gain a level of intoxication. It's kind of modeled the after exhaustion, but not quite as harsh as
Right.
exhaustion.
Right.
And so like we came up with this idea of a dwarven pub or tavern where the tables were made of stone, but they weren't really tables; they were more like big bowls. And you would when you would order basically a booze ooze, and they would drop little booze oozes onto your table depending on what you wanted, and you would just kind of like play with them, right? Like silly putty, or like a pet, I guess maybe. And the act of doing that would get you drunk. I don't know if that'd be quite as satisfying though as pounding them back.
I I don't know. I mean, it's an experience, and like, I know, while I am not a drinker, there are many reasons for why people drink. Some people like the taste, some people like the experience, some people just want to be drunk so that they can act the idiot without, any, oh, I'm sorry, I was drunk, or like they just want to forget, or any number of other things. So some of those experiences still can happen. You're not going to get the taste factor, um, but the experience winds up creating a whole nother avenue.
Andrew says edibles. No, man, we don't eat the booze oozes. They're alive.
And Doug, I'm sorry, I will disagree with you. My wife likes the taste of whiskey, so
No one likes the taste. Some people like the taste of beer too. It depends. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe your wife's just being contrarian. She doesn't really like things. She just says she likes the taste. Or compared to other liquors, maybe. I
well,
don't know.
it is what it is.
It all depends what you're drinking, though. Because, like, if you're drinking White Russians, let me tell you, they taste really good and go down way too easy. They're dangerous for me, anyway. That's like my kryptonite.
All right, I'll remember that.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Some things are definitely much more tasty than others. Like the buzz. Huh. That should be a monster. The buzz.
The buzz.
Yeah. Or maybe a magical sickness.
Well, I mean, aren't there, like, I don't know whether it's, official D&D, or whether it's one of the kobold monsters, but isn't there like a race of like bee humanoids?
I'm sure there is. I don't know where, but I'm sure there
Yeah.
is.
So, like, bees make a buzzing sound, so like, they could totally be responsible for the buzz.
Uh, chasms also have some kind of droning effect, I think too.
Okay.
Yeah, the demons.
Right.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not.
Casmi. See the
Chasm. I don't know.
I you know
they look like bugs, but they're fiends.
yeah, like the long pointy snout, the like bluish black.
Yeah. So they're I don't know if they count or not for you. But I'm pretty sure, like I said, there it's one of the books someone has done the bug, right? The beam thing for sure.
Yeah, I need to actually find that one because uh, the next time I run for the kids, they're apparently going into a mega beehive to deal with a threat.
Oh yeah, what level are they?
They just made sixth.
Oh yeah, you don't want to make it high of Casmies.
you
They're
know,
challenge
I,
6. That might be a rough day for them. Although it might make a good leader.
see, I knew I was right with the A. Doug says the Abil are the B people.
But the question is, what book are they in? Are they are they official thing? Now because we're starting to get up there, we got a few resources for 5e now.
Oh, looking at the mega wall behind me.
Yeah, the only thing is, like I've said it on chats before, like I am terrible though. I rarely use anything.
Outside of Watts.
Yeah.
Well, I based the Zagog off of a creature out of Revelo. So
Uh, does the creature exist in Revel? You can just use the creature.
yeah, I always modify everything. I
Yeah,
never
I don't
never
think you got to modify that one. They're not going to know about the Revelo monsters.
it doesn't even matter at this point in time. Uh, when I find something that's close to what I'm
Yeah.
looking for, I'm like, all right, now I'm going to add this or I'm going to add that. Some things I feel don't have enough legendary something or others, especially at the level that you guys are at.
Ted's just like, this is garbage. Now we'll fix
No,
it.
no. I would never
I'll
say
create
anything.
a masterpiece.
I would never say anything from Brian's work because garbage. I love Brian's stuff. Um,
Not Brian specifically, everybody.
oh, I mean, after years of creating my own monsters and modifying, like at this point in time, it's every session. If I'm running,
Yeah.
whatever's there is being tweaked to some degree. I mean, heck, I even with the last session that I ran for you guys, I even tweaked the Vargarians just because I'm like, all right, I got to make sure that I've got this set up, I've got that set up. Uh, that's just.
I know, you ran him. Like, that's not how that works at all. I didn't say it. I just said it on the inside.
Doesn't matter, when I'm the DM and I'm sitting there behind the screen, it is what it is.
I am God. I do what I want.
I did not say that.
Tremble before me, mortals.
That is not me, nor will it ever be me.
Yeah. I know I told you, but since we're in the chat, I guess it's worth mentioning. It did not happen in a tavern nor an inn. But we were trying to recover one of the gems that makes wine in Ravenloft, and I've run afoul of Bobby Lysaga, and she murdered me dead. So I got fingered of death to death. So that's my first character death in a while. Well, not my first one, but I haven't had a character death in a while. Have you had any 5e character deaths yet?
Um.
Oh, you had one in the one shot.
Yeah, definitely had a couple of one shot characters die. Um, did Relion die, and we have to use either the Ring of Spell Storing or the Church of the Light to bring him back, or is that just something that he was planning of like, all right, we need to make sure I can come back somehow.
I don't think he actually died.
Okay. I know there's definitely when we fought the Myconid Lich, there was definitely some great fear there.
He was close. I tried.
He had it out for me bad.
He was angry with you.
But that was fun. now that it's over and whatnot. Yeah, I don't think any serious long running deaths have happened, or character deaths, for games that have been going on.
But it was that one was kind of different because I was at full hit points. I was like, wow, just dead from full to dead.
Well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, so like, and so it was fun though. Like I had fun with it, but like the scenario was like I was hiding in her flying skull, invisible, and then someone else had cast hold person on her, and it worked. So I was like, oh, we have a round, and then so I was like, all right, I'm just going to use my inflict wounds. It did a hefty amount of damage. And then the next person to go, I was like, oh, they need to attack. They need to attack her while she's still held. Because that paralyzed condition is no joke. And instead, they went and helped one of the other players. I was like, oh. And then the very next round, she's like, finger of death. So
That sucks.
and also, Katie's character got power words stunned out of the air, which,
Wow.
which I mean, yeah, their character was only like 20 feet in the air, so it wasn't too bad. But
Okay.
the DM started to ask how many hit points. He's like, never mind, because it's like 150. We're like sixth level, and it's like 150 hit points.
Wow, that is I don't mean to offer any insult, but that's some harsh combat there. Was this something that you guys were aware you shouldn't be fighting and fought anyway, or?
That group is a bunch of chuckle fucks, and and I'm not sure we're aware of much. We just play, and actually, like we don't do much combat or fighting usually. Um, but that time we decided to, and there were some things going on. We didn't really think about whether or not that was a combat we should be fighting or not, and we went in all guns blazing, and it was really close. So it was fun though. I mean, I roll up a new character.
Well, I mean,
So
that's one of the fantastic things. As often as we sit and talk about D&D, like I've got more character ideas and more things that I would like to play than I have outlets to actually play them.
yeah,
Even before I get a chance to roll up my next character, I'm certain that I'm going to have more. Um, I've been enjoying, my Warforged Star Druid that I've been playing over on Mini Terrain Domain, even though I think we've got like one session and then, that character gets put back on the shelf, so to speak.
no, say it ain't so.
But we knew going into it that it was a mini arc. It was expected to be 1 to 3 sessions. It's probably going to be 4,
Yeah.
unless we somehow find a way to draw it out.
Are you hoping to draw it out, or you want to? Are you ready to go back to the other character?
I mean, it's good and bad. I mean, it's D&D with people that I care about. They're a great group.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so like
So, what's your favorite constellation?
so what when he casts a spell, whatever either the spell concept or whatever his target is, his star map is his cloak, and it's
Uh,
like a speckled owlbear fur. So like the speckles wind up outlining to whatever that shape is when he casts his spells.
what is it? The archer, the chalice, and the dragon? Maybe.
Uh,
I know it's a chalice and archer. I think, and then
yeah,
there's one more.
I don't remember what the third one is.
Because the chalice does the healing.
I don't think you have to pick one. I think you can use your wild shape and choose one of those forms for 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, but you have to pick when you do it, though, right? I think.
Yeah. You use your wild shape as a bonus action and take that form. So he has used the archer once.
Yeah, I only know the chalice does the healing because we did this. We did a video that involved healing
Right.
and the different ways of doing it.
The archer allows you to use your bonus action to do damage.
Oh yeah, you just hit it with like magic damage or something.
Yeah, it's like basically.
And then yeah, I don't know what the other one does. No,
Yeah,
it's no.
Haven't used it yet. So
Yeah.
my but it's definitely a lot of fun. You know, I like the free castings of Guiding Bolt because it's a fabulous spell. Uh,
You were you guys running through the Yawning Portal? Adventures from the Yawning Portal?
uh no. We did the Forge of Fury where
Uh
I started. And that's from, is that Yawning Portal?
it might be.
Uh,
I think so because the Yawning Portal has a bunch of adventures in it, and then the Yawning Portal some is like a way to tie them all together.
right.
Yeah, I guess for some reason I thought maybe Jake was running that. You guys were working your way through the different adventures in there at one
So
point.
yeah, so the campaign started off with Sunless Citadel. I joined for season 2 for the Forge of Fury, and then we jumped out of there and did Ghost of Saltmarsh. Then he went, into some serious old school and converted Heart of the Nightfang Spire, and now we've jumped all the way, to the newest book, with the Rime of the Frost Maiden, which we've only played one session on, and I nearly killed us all. So awesome times.
Good times were had for all.
Well, it's amusing.
So
Like,
is the mini arc in the Frost of the Rime of the Frost Maiden? Or is that something
so
different?
he's just modifying everything. So, like with Ghost of Saltmarsh, it's supposed to be a long campaign, and we just did a portion of it. You know,
Well,
and
again,
like,
that's another one where they took a couple adventures and kind of like
mhm.
smushed them together. So I
But
feel like that kind of works.
Rhyme is supposed to be longer, and he just was like, all right, I have to figure out how I'm going to get you from where you are into the start of this adventure and where things are going to, place you. And, he's like, well, I definitely want to include this, which, is that first session, which is totally up on the website and, or up on YouTube, and was definitely a, what was Wizards thinking, because it's like a low level campaign to start, and like you can find this item that can just totally TPK the party. Oops. And
Well, isn't it? There's a scroll of Tarash summoning in that book.
oh jeez.
Imagine accidentally doing that at first level. You're all toe jam now.
I don't want to give any spoilers. If you wanna have that, either you can take a look at the book or you can go over to Mini Train Domain and watch that, that crazy first session. Um, but like I don't, from adventure design, I don't understand what is the purpose of that layer of threat if they're going to possibly find it at low level, because it literally can just nuke characters out of existence because it can do that much damage. you
Ah,
know
that's fine.
we're 12th level, so like, oh, ow, that hurts, that could have dropped some of us, but like
Uh,
it's not enough to like, oh, you dead. Like beyond resurrection, or needing resurrection.
yeah. Someone brought up the fact that being a zombie and then getting killed might require more than your typical raised dead. Because I know the party is looking to bring my character back.
Well, that's entirely going to be up to your DM's decision.
Yeah,
um
sure. That
you know
makes
it's a
sense. I'm
it's a
indifferent. But I feel bad, right? Like if they go through all the effort and are like, we really want to bring this character back. And I'm like,
well, it's a scenario of like, all
Yeah.
right, the state of the body is the same. Like you became a zombie and then you're not. Like they defeated the zombie somehow,
Now
and
you're just a corpse.
now you're just a corpse. Are we? We're probably past the realm of a minute of
Oh,
you
it's
know
not revivify. And I would have been the only one to be able to do it. So
oh so like, all right, so now you're looking at your next tier up.
I also don't waste spell slots or no spells known on that nonsense
Oh,
either.
you're not that kind of cleric. Got it.
Yeah, dude, I love the Twilight Cleric. It's fun. They get a lot of really good spells on
Well,
their spell list, but
that
none
is
of them are like that kind of cleric.
well that's one of the things that I love about clerics is you can totally play whatever style you want. look at the fact that the Critical Role cast, they've got two clerics,
Yeah.
and while Jester on occasion will use clericy type stuff, she will heal. They have access to revivify if need be, but like most of the time it's like, nah, I don't have that ready, but I'm gonna cast message, and I'm gonna cast all of these fun things. Spoiler alert, in 3, 2, 1, in one of the more recent episodes that I watched, she cast a high level inflict wounds
Uh-huh.
and like crit, so she did
Yeah.
like triple digit damage with an inflict spell. It's like, yeah.
Oh man, she must have pumped that all the way up. I was conflicted too. Like when I used my inflict wounds, I was like, do I use it the highest level I can cast, or do I do one under? Because I only had one third level slot left,
Hmm.
and so I was like, I'll do one under because I want to do spiritual guardians next round.
Right.
Just be like, you can suck damage every round. We just didn't get to that point. I mean, still, just casting as a second level spell, I did like 49 points of damage.
Nice.
But paralyzed crit, so
Ouch.
yeah, that hurts. That's why I was like, I sort like I have to restrain myself from telling people what they should do with their characters because I'm like, they should really just lay into this person right now because they're held, and
Right.
you're gonna get the most bang for your buck right now, and it's super worth it.
It's the fine line to cross, and I've definitely stepped my toes across the line on more than one occasion. I've gotten some harsh words or some harsh whispers, and I'm like, all right, I'm a pull back. I'm not gonna do that anymore. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. So now I just internalize it all.
that's where I was gonna go. It's like, all right, I'm gonna just speak in my own head and
Yeah,
leave it
just have a conversation with myself.
at that. So Brian commenting, inns and taverns already done, huh?
We talked about them for a while,
About a half hour, maybe.
maybe. So, oh,
Uh,
did you want to mention? Did you had that other thing you wanted to mention?
yes, thank you for bringing that up because even though I brought it up before we started, I've already put it out of my mind. So this Sunday, I am running the monthly fan game, and I am short 2 players. So if you are interested in playing a one-shot 5th level game with yours truly, Sunday at 2 p.m., you can email me ted@nerdarchy.com and let me know that you are available. 5th level game, standard array or 27 point buy, 500 gold. Anything by Watts or anything by us is approved. So yeah, let me know.
Boom, business attended to.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
So if we want to wrap it back to inns and taverns and make Brian happy, is there anything that you'd like to see done with an inner tavern that has not been done?
I don't know. I feel like that's one of those things I kind of like come up with as I'm playing, like where you just do something a little bit different than what is whatever the norm is, and usually that's going to be just like some inspiration from someplace weird. You know, um, like the Boozer's Tavern. It's definitely one I want us to implement somewheres
Sure.
at some point. Maybe we need to do a book of taverns ourselves because we do. We do have a couple ideas. That being one of them. The Mike and Ed one was. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that one that's definitely is a standout, and like places that have these extra features, these other things that um you can be able to work with, I think are the ones that are um that are going to draw people in. You don't want to have the ye old, the ye old inn is not going to be any kind of fun. you know it needs to be different. It needs to be something that's going to stand out. um, so I'm very much attached to things that are plainer. um, so like I think it would be cool to kind of do something that is like pseudo celestial based. And then the corollary could be, from Faust Haven, you've got this, infernal inn. Um, Brian brings up the haunted tavern. Like, I think these are all things that could be fabulous. Like the haunted tavern. What if like the the wait staff are totally just ghosts?
Well, I did one. It's in Taking Chances.
Okay.
So the Ghost is a ghost band,
Okay.
and also there's a so for that I made up a game, Rolling Bones, something along those lines. I don't remember, but I made up the whole game for it, like, and it involved using uh 3d6, 2d10, and you know you could like there you could roll a grin, you could roll the eyes, or you could roll the full skull. They all have different like ratings as far as the game went. And it's in a specific tavern. It was played, and the place, like, the whole aesthetic was like kind of creepy.
Hmm.
Um, and the band was like, where they were, it was a spirit orchestra or ghost orchestra. I don't know if there was the only tavern in that book or not, or if there was a couple more. I did that a while ago, and unfortunately, I'm a fire and forget kind of person. So like, I do stuff, I put it out there, and then it's gone.
I am very much the same. I am thankful that these days, um, Google Docs is my friend. So like I put a lot of ideas there, and if I ever come back to it and build upon it, yay, great. If not, maybe someday. But
um,
you brought up the idea of a game. This is basically just a teaser, but uh, I was playing a one of these small compact kind of things games with my kids the other day, and it spurred an idea on that I could kind of take this concept and bring it into D&D and replicate the concept with just using dice, uh like just standard D6s, so that it'd be easy for any table to kind of replicate. um Unless you actually have this game, then play this game. But
hmm.
so that's a teaser for you folks out there that at some point in time we're
What
gonna
game
be
is it based off of?
I think it's called Pass the Pigs.
Not familiar with that one.
So basically it is two little miniature pigs, and
Uh,
you roll them like dice, and how the pigs fall is worth points.
mm.
um so I am replicating that kind of concept, uh, but changing the theme to something else.
So that they don't have to actually have pigs to roll.
So that number one, they don't actually have to have the pigs, and
Yeah.
it is a fantasy themed game. Um,
Oh
so
my god. You should introduce that in your game as a game that giants play, and they just roll actual pigs. And like, maybe the barbarian in the party would be able to play.
well, I mean that is completely possible, but that was not the intention of what I was looking for. But that could be where the game originally derived from.
So what are your thoughts on this? Brian wants to know, curious about stretching the inn tavern idea. For instance, what could serve the same function but out in the plains or the wilderness, scrap the musty outhouse setting? So, maybe like a hunting lodge, but the problem with that is it requires people, right? It's like the hunting lodge is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. Or all you're really going to do is have like a tavern or play something, where there's other types of people like orcs or goblins or gnolls or whatever. But it's just like very, like, you need civilization, or at least a group of people, in order to have that kind of thing. Like, you could replace a tavern with something else, but that's not actually the most important thing, right? The most important thing is the fact that it happens generally in a civilization.
So yeah, you have to break this down in a couple of different things. If you are having the concept of the tavern, it is a place where people get food. It is a place where people uh, get to sleep. It provides safety. It provides entertainment. If you're going to have all of these things, regardless of what you call it, you know, all of the things that are necessary need to exist there. The food has to be able to be gotten. The people who work there have to have a place to go back to. So it's a lot harder to maintain that kind of place outside of, as Dave says, civilization. So if you have like a small family run uh, place that's at a crossroads, and they have set up with numerous vendors who are traders, and it's like, okay, they're going from city to city, and this is like the halfway point, or this is where a crossroads is, so that you're in the middle of like four different places and everyone's got to stop at your spot. Oh well, you've got safety, and everyone, barters. These traders barter with, oh well, I've got a place to stable your horses if you're willing to, provide, whatever trade goods that you work with for me to, be able to do here. And as long as there is a steady supply, working, this business can be up and running. It works out great because, oh well, what happens if the trade caravan hasn't come? Perfect for adventurers to go out and be able to find out what the holdup is, or to go out and hunt some more meat so that they've got something to be able to cook up and sell for whatever people are coming through. But that last component is, there's got to be other people who are coming through who have that, trade economy to keep the business, up and running.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something like maybe a druid's grove or a fey grove, but again, it's still the idea is it's a place where people congregate, and essentially that's what I would say you're going to always replace. That's what replaces the tavern or the inn or an alehouse is a place where people congregate, right? So like you could use a church, right? A church would work as well, and so would other things. But again, like I think the binding thing is like, well, why do people congregate here? And using your crossroads examples, right? You still need that element of civilization, of the people kind of like congregating in order to make it work. Even if you were to do like a Fey Grove that's kind of connected to the Feywild in some way, you can have some crazy wild stuff going on. You're still meeting up with a bunch of other creatures, where they're going to congregate. They just might not be the ones that you're used to dealing with.
So Brian points out that, a small family that, uses, create food and water could definitely, work. A traveling food truck would be very interesting. If it's a
Food
magic
truck,
food truck.
really interesting if they
Uh,
got a truck,
well, I mean, imagine it would be like, a carriage
cart.
or a caravan.
Yeah.
A druid henge could be, something where the place itself is magical. Um, we had recorded a video last week that we can, kind of tease about, places of power. That could totally be a thing where, like, perhaps, a druid is literally, honed in with the land, and maybe it's not meat that they serve, but there is always plenty of, um, vegetables and, nuts, things that grow, um, in an abundance here. So that definitely could wind up working as well. And if you've got hostile intentions, perhaps like the place itself just expels you to out of its border, so it automatically offers the safety. And perhaps, like they have, meets like a uh, you know during celestial events or whatever have you, and people congregate to learn and trade ideas and what have you at this place of power that has safety and food.
So as Brian was kind of putting in there, there really has to be a place where people will serve you rather than going to a place where you can serve yourself. I had an idea that was kind of percolating, somewhat based off of the Pathfinder game I'm playing in, and some like real world stuff, right? So like the game I'm playing in, like, I'm playing an alchemist, so I really wanted my alchemist to be able to go mix his own drinks, and make them flammable, which the shot the barkeep was not having. But there is like, so there's this place called the Cauldron in New York City. There's like 7 of them like throughout the world, and they have all kinds of like crazy specialty drinks. But they also do potion brewing workshops where where they teach you how to make the drinks and then you get to drink them. Uh, so that got me kind of thinking about like, what about an alchemist turned tavern owner or barkeep that just likes to experiment with liquor and drinks?
I mean, that could definitely work, and that could work with, that whole, booze concept as well. Perhaps not everybody wants to,
It's an accident that happens occasionally.
so like taking that concept and, expanding that out into, a much bigger, broader idea. It's more than it's more than about getting drunk. Like, how many different ways can you obtain that experience? So you could go even further. Perhaps there's the touch, the drink, so you've got the taste. Perhaps there's a way to inhale, so like, you could smell and get drunk. So perhaps there's like a room of vapors where like they vaporize the alcohol. um
Yeah, I
so
think they call that getting high, Ted. It's huffing. They're huffing their booze.
uh so like,
No, kids, we do not approve or do support or condone huffing of
uh
booze or other things.
you take that and build upon. Like, to me, that's the next step, is to, have this be a place of experiences.
I like the idea that in that place of experience, occasionally monsters are made, and it happens so often that the owner just doesn't is nonplussed when it happens whatsoever. Again,
He's got a little bell that he rings. Ding, ding.
yeah, horde of helpers comes and subdues the monster and carries it away.
To be experimented on some more.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. So, see there, we got some more taverns in for you, Brian. Although we talked about them for a little bit in the beginning.
Well, I mean, we are, quite the ramblers, and this is a long video, so we tend to start off, go strong for a while, meander off topic, meander further off topic, and eventually bring it back in, and expound some more before we, get into final wrap up.
Yeah. So do you know what you're doing with your players this weekend?
I am still working on it. So no.
Absolutely not.
I debated of, am I running something that we've got either in the works? Am I running something that we have already put together, or whether I'm just coming up with and, working on something of my own? Part of me is debated, rerunning the adventure that I ran for the Sword and Scroll adventure. It's holiday themed, so I could definitely go in that direction. So I've still got several days to really figure out before I need to hone down, on what it is. Uh,
I usually don't figure it out until like an hour beforehand. I'll be like, here's the requirements, here's the level, here's what you can have. And I'm like, oh, I guess I gotta figure out what I'm doing.
uh, that part I've got. Uh, so I definitely know. Um, I definitely know that aspect. So I know I got to work with a fifth level party. So we can go from there, and
I like the 5 to 7 range
for
for
one
the fan
shots.
games.
Yep.
So this weekend was a decent amount of gaming. Friday night was Pathfinder, D&D Saturday morning, and then I ran
D&D
for you
Saturday night.
guys Saturday night.
Yeah, that one. That one was definitely a bit of a an odd scenario where it's like, we've got this recovery mission, and like we literally are like 30 feet away from our objective. Like, yeah, we're gonna go take a nap.
Yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Definitely had to laugh at that one.
Yeah, yeah. Hey Gonzo, how's it going? I actually do like I do now realize we do not do enough food carts and food wagons in our games.
I mean, traveling vendors are pretty common, and I don't think we do a lot of them. I've made a couple over the course of fifth edition that I've used, but not a
Yeah,
tremendous amount.
they're usually not food vendors though.
No, they're generally not food vendors now.
So I feel like I need to do that more often. We need to do it. We need to do a food cart slash food wagon festival.
Mm,
That would probably be a good holiday session.
yeah, definitely has got to be the guy who's got the mystery meat. That's definitely a thing.
Always the mystery meat. So we're up on the hour mark here, just past. And we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be playing some Cipher System, and tomorrow during the day, I will be back with another guest to hang out with on the daily live chat. So we're only doing 3 this week because of being Christmas weekend or whatever. But with that, until next time, and if I don't see you between the holidays, happy New Year. Stay
Indeed.
nerdy.
Stay nerdy.